Hello there, this is Juliana Michaels and welcome to my craft room. In this video, I'm sharing the 2025 tour of my craft room and where it is at this point in my creative journey. Not a lot has changed, but I attribute that to having found a really nice flow with my current setup and the products I'm using the most. As always, as the creative journey continues, I do move things around here and there, and you will see some of those small changes throughout the tour. If you are interested in any of the storage items that you see in the video, you can find links to those that are still available in the description box below. When you shop through those links, you are supporting me, and I really appreciate that so very much. So let's head on into my craft room and start the tour. As you can tell, if I kind of scan around the room here, not a ton has changed since my tour from last year. Nevertheless, I thought I would still go ahead and share with you just kind of where it is at this time in my creative journey. And first off, we'll just kind of start off with my dresser here. This is an IKEA dresser, and this is what is across from me when I'm sitting at my desk here. And I have added a little bit of art onto the wall finally, which is kind of nice. I still need to paint this, which that I got at Michael's maybe a year or so ago, but yeah, a little something up on the wall finally there. And in the dresser, as in the past, I just have different things in the drawers here. So I'll just kind of again go through, show you some of these things are the same and some are different. This is kind of my junk drawer with extra tools, scissors, extra pens, and things like that. This next drawer here has a lot of my larger tools and punches in there, which again, about the same as it has been. And then here I've also got some of my other tools and some of my supplies that I use when I'm doing die cutting. So like the mint tape here, I kind of like to have that handy because on the top here, this surface I use to do my paper cutting and my die cutting. So usually like my die cutting machine is out and open, and I'll have all my different cutting plates and that out here on the surface. So this is very neat and clean right now. Not exactly how it looks when I'm in the full making mode. And then in this drawer here, I have all of my cutting plates, magnetic mats, magic mats, extra cutting pads, and all that's all the different sizes of those. And then I also have my sidekick and the cutting plates that go with that. Now in this drawer, I've kind of consolidated a few things, and I put my silhouette and my mink machine in here and just kind of kept some of the cords and things together with them in there. And then in this next drawer here, I've got kind of like extra things as well. So here I've started collecting the refills for my distress inks and distress oxide inks and the archival inks. So I've got bins there for those. I've got my Xyron machine, extra non-stick cutting mats. And then this is kind of my collection of sequins and beads and things like that. So I have those all together, and then there's also some smaller packages of things like that in these little containers here. And then here in the bottom drawer, I've got more of my mediums, and these are all of my spritzes and mica stains. So I just kind of have them separated a little bit down the middle here. Since the spritzes are taller, I can still kind of tell which ones are which. My goal is to put some little labels on here on the top like I have with the paints over here, so that I know what these different colors are. So that's kind of on my list of things to do for organizing coming up here. And then I just have Here, these are just all extra mediums that are like duplicates of things that I have in other areas of the room, or like adhesives that I don't use super often, but just like to have in case. Then I've got my glitters. I'm not a big, huge glitter person, so I kind of keep those back there out of the way, but I know where they are if I need them. And then here's my paints, and I've got my smaller paint brushes and little palettes and things like that in there. And then in these little tins, I just have like extra sponges and extra like bottles and caps and replacement type pieces in that tin as well. And then this drawer has all of my sprays. I finally completed my collection of all of the Distress spray stains and Distress oxide sprays, and I have them all in these scrapbook.com storage bins. And I just really love these bins because I can easily lift out the bin and take that over to my table and use the colors. Or I can just come in here if I know there's specific colors I want, and I can just grab the few colors that I want and take them over as well. And again, I've got a few that are missing the color swatches on top. So again, that's just another one of those things when I get to this year, hopefully sooner rather than later, and get these all organized and easy to find that way. So next up, I'm just gonna come to kind of this back wall here. I would really love to get some more art to put on the wall here. I had the art that was on this wall here, and that was over there, and I decided to move it here. And so now, sorry if I'm making you dizzy, this wall is a little empty. So I kind of hung my Distress pin collection up there for now, and yeah, be on the hunt for something else to add to it. So here I've got my ink pad holders that are all of my other ink pads that aren't Distress inks. So I've got my Ranger archival inks in this storage unit, and then I have like the Memento inks and some of my other just kind of random like white pigment ink pads and things that are just kind of single ink pads that I have. And then this new unit that I've added has the new VersaFine Clair ink pads, which I've really enjoyed kind of adding that pigment ink pad to my collection of inks. And then down below here, I have kind of my standard storage bins that I've been using in my craft room now for a while. So I've got these vintage tool bins here, are these green ones. And I've got in these two containers, kind of slide this out a little bit. And I love that I can just kind of flip through and see what's in here. And this is just kind of my collection of my scrapbook.com exclusive stamps and dies. And some of them I just kind of keep in the packaging that they come in. And then other ones I've got, you know, magnet sheets and things like that that I store them on. And that's something that's a little bit new for me this year, is I bought these Lawn Fawn storage magnet sheets, and they come in, I think it's like an 8.5 by 11 size. And I cut that down in half using my Tim Holtz paper trimmer, and then just added some of the dies to those, and just kind of had a new, different way to kind of flip through and give me easy access to those. So that's there. And then I also have like these little storage pouches that are from scrapbook.com that I use for some of like the alphabet dies. So just a few options there on some storage containers and ways to kind of sort and organize your collection. Here, this is actually an ink pad holder, and I actually like to use it for my A2 paper pads. So I have, as you can see, quite a collection of them. So I've got 2 of those there right now that are full, but they've got so many great paper pads, and they're just really handy to grab because they're already cut to size and kind of ready to go. Down below here, I've got my bin with my junk journaling stuff in it, and this bin is a little bit of a mess, and I'll be super honest, haven't really touched much of what's in here for this past year at all, like I had hoped. So maybe moving forward this year, I'll get back into this a little bit more. I did do a few junk journals, but they were seasonal, so maybe some more kind of everyday type stuff I'll have a chance to get back into that with what's in there. But I like having these bins because it can kind of put things that are maybe not real neat and pretty. I can kind of hide them away in there. This bin, I've got all of my kind of fabric, lace, felt, ribbons, twine, and all that kind of stuff in this bin. And again, not necessarily pretty to look at, so it's again easy just to kind of hide it away in there. Next up, I have the Stadium Organizer from scrapbook.com. This I've had in my stash for quite some time, and I like to kind of switch out what goes in that kind of seasonally. So I just switched this over from like all of my Christmas and winter to kind of the Valentine's and spring products that are coming out from scrapbook.com. So definitely some new stuff there. Oh, sorry, little Miss Ziva has decided to come in and say hello. Say hi, baby girl. Hello. All right, so then below that, I have another of those hardware bins. And in this one, I have my collection of other brands of stamps. So I've got, stuff from All and Create, Pink Fresh, Gina K, Spellbinders, Elizabeth Craft Designs, just, Waffle Flower. And this is just kind of my little collection of those, so I can kind of keep them all together. And they are mostly sorted by brand and then size, just to make it a little easier to flip through. She just wants to be a part of the party right now. So this is where I keep my splat box and paper towels and crafty cloths. And I am absolutely loving the crafty cleanup cloths from scrapbook.com. I really love them. I know the lint-free type cloths aren't for everyone, but I've been enjoying using them and how they kind of pick up the little dust and things like that from my crafting. And then above that, I've got kind of my stencil cubby, and in there I have this little rotating brush holder from Made by Marco, where I've got my Distress Oxide inks and regular Distress ink brushes in here. And then I've got a couple of 6x8 albums that I keep my scrapbook.com stencils stored in. And then I have this little Stadium organizer from scrapbook.com that I have found that works really well for storing my Tim Holtz stencils. So I just like to be able to flip through and find them. I tried doing the rings, and here I just have a ring on the ones that are kind of like the seasonal ones to keep them together. But I really like being able to just flip through and kind of look for my design that I'm looking for with this kind of setup here. So this has been working really well for me for that. And then this is just a little brush holder with some little small blending brushes that I have. And now I want to take a look at the center bookcase. Again, all of the furniture in here, other than my desk that I work at, is pretty much from IKEA. And I just have these top shelves that are just kind of full of, I don't know, things that make me happy, that I've kind of collected, either vintage items or new items. And then there's also some of my makes kind of scattered in between as well. And it's just kind of a nice little happy place I love to look at. I love having it here in my room. This is a Stadium organizer here that's holding my scrapbook.com pops of color. And then down here on this next shelf, I'm using the scrapbook.com large envelope storage to keep my collection of Tim Holtz stamps organized. And I just really like how I can put them in here and easily flip through and, you know, read the name and number on there and know which stamp I maybe am looking for. And then I have those little dividers in here between each one of them. And again, that I just kind of have them divided into sections that work for me. So some of the sections I've got here are ephemera. I've got the professor. I have grunge. I have inventor. I have botanical, flourish, backgrounds. I have one for animals or crazy things. I've got one here for butterflies and text and sentiments. And then I have a little empty spot back there waiting to have space to continue my collection. I have my Halloween and Christmas stamps kind of put away right now. And I'll show you those here in a little bit where those are. And then down below the stamps, I've got my Tim Holtz Sizzix dies. These wooden bins are from Hobby Lobby and long retired. I've had them for many, many, many years. And I think they're always a favorite of everyone's when they see my craft room. They are a favorite of mine as well. And I absolutely love them. They are heavy because they're wood, but they also hold the weight of all those dies. And so they work really well. I also have my embossing folder collection down here as well. And again, I've got these little dividers in here. These are from scrapbook.com, and I've just made different categories, again, kind of based on some of the, I don't know, and I just kind of have the categories on just different themes and designs that I have in my stash. So I've got here animals, butterflies, birds. Got one for butterflies, botanicals, backgrounds. Yeah, just, you know, what works for me. And, you know, I think for this, it can be very personal as far as like, you know, what style or types of products you like to have as far as like what kind of categories you might need. And then I also have one here that's got all my Halloween dies in it. And then down here on this bottom shelf, I have the Christmas ones. And then I have a lot of my Biggs dies here and the embossing folders. And then I have a smaller one. And then this drawer here has some of the new smaller embossing folders and some of the seasonal embossing folders there towards the back. Now I'm gonna go on to this wall here, and up above here I've got my Distress Oxide and Distress Ink collection in these storage units from Stamp & Storage. And then again, just kind of decorated above and below with makes and different vintage pieces that I've collected over the years. So down here, I've got another one of the hardware bins, and this one is just full of some of the cards that I've made this past year that I have kept and will hopefully be sending out here soon. You know, birthday cards. I spy a Valentine's Day card in there. Here I've got just a notebook. I had been using this to store my Tim Holtz paper ideology in, but I'm kind of leaning away from that and gradually removing those items and putting them back into a different type of storage. And then here, this is my swatch book. So this is just a 6x8 album from scrapbook.com, and then they've got these 2x2 pocket pages, and I've created a swatch book of all of my Distress inks and Distress Oxide inks and my alcohol inks and so forth. So, and then my archival inks. So you kind of get the gist of that. If you are interested in creating something similar to this, I will share a link to that in the description box below that you can check out. And so in this cubby here, I've got kind of starting to get into my Tim Holtz ideology collection. This is the backdrop papers. I have them in these envelopes from scrapbook.com. They're a little larger lengthwise than maybe they need to be for these papers, but they fit in there perfectly. And then this is just a little planter from, I'm not sure, a craft store many years ago that I just loved kind of the vintage vibe of it. And so I've got some of my different ideology pieces in here and collage tape and paper dolls and all that kind of stuff in here. And then behind that, I've got some of the tins that hold the alcohol inks. And so I just kind of have my collection of alcohol inks and alcohol pearls there. In this cubby, I've got kind of my Tim Holtz papers, mostly. This is the 8x8 paper pads that Tim was doing there for a while, and then he's since switched to the other papers. I've just got a variety of the different papers in these little planter boxes, and then this is actually a vintage sewing machine drawer. It just kind of helps me keep all those papers together. In this cubby, more of my Tim Holtz paper ideology. You know, just some of the little file folders and stencil chips, collage papers and stickers and all that. And here is the 4-tiered storage from scrapbook.com, and I have been using this to store my Tim Holtz ideology collection. And I have a full video on this that I share a lot of detail about, and I can link to that in the description box below as well. I find this super handy for storing and organizing my Tim Holtz ideology collection. So there's room here to put different pieces in these different trays, and they all latch together and connect. And then there's 2 of the trays that have these removable inserts that are, you know, kind of little divider trays, and, you know, so you can put different pieces in those. And then here's another one of the trays. And then finally on the bottom here, I've got all these smaller embellishments, and I've just got them in some of the large and small embellishment jars from scrapbook.com. So now in the bins below here, I kind of have these divided up with the bin that has my Halloween ideology in. And again, another one of those 4-tiered tray storage units in there. And then just some of my other Tim Holtz ideology that doesn't fit in here, you know, like the papers and some of the, you know, like clocks and things that I can decorate with it. So I have those in there. And then this bin has my Christmas ideology in, and again, another one of those storage units. And then some of the ephemera pieces and stuff that didn't fit in here, I kind of saved this one in particular for a lot of the smaller embellishments, the trees and ribbons and things like that. So it's in there. And then next up, I've got these drawers here, and this drawer here, I've just got my mini archival inks, my distress crayons, luster wax, just some different mediums like that, perfect pearls, and have those in here just to kind of keep all those together. And then below that drawer, I've got all of my paste. So these are all of the ones that I'm using currently. You might recall that I have more over on the other side of the room, but those are kind of like my extra ones. So these have all been opened, and those haven't yet. So this also has a couple little containers here with some of my supplies for doing alcohol ink, like the blending solution, and some little cups and things like that. And then these are extra rubbing alcohol cleaners for stamp cleaners and distress spray, just some other kind of random little things, but all kind of related to either the mixed media stuff or cleaning my stamps. And then here in this drawer, I have all of my distress glaze. So you can kind of see all those labeled. That's just a piece of white cardstock that I inked with embossing ink and then sprinkled the embossing powder on it and heat set it. I've cut the circle using a die. You could also use a punch and then, you know, add the ink and the embossing powder. And then this is just a storage tin of Tim's that is for the distress crayons actually, but I keep all of my embossing supplies in here. So I've got my ink pads, any kind of little tools that I like to use, my markers, and then the Altoid tin has my anti-static pouch in it. So I kind of keep all that together there. And then in this bottom drawer here is my other embossing powders. So kind of my regular embossing powders, some ultra thick embossing powder, and then I also have these little tins here with just some spare sponges, you know, for my distress inks and distress oxides. Next, I thought I would just kind of go over my little Rascog cart here that I have. I tried to get rid of it this year because I thought maybe I didn't really need it, but I just find it so handy to have right next to me when I'm crafting. So when I'm sitting here at my desk, I can easily, you know, pull this closer to me and get to all of my tools. And I've got this little caddy here from scrapbook.com that I love to put my heat tools in because I don't have to worry about the heat if they're hot, touching or melting anything. I can safely put them in here because these inserts are metal. And then I just keep all of my adhesives and other tools that I use all the time. I've got my stamping platform here, sticky mats, rulers, extra larger stamping blocks, some of my tools that, you know, just keeping them close and easy to get to. On the side here, I've got these little hooks and I've got a little Swiffer duster I need to replace with a new one. I've got my brayers here. And then down here below, I've got these little trays and I've got my adhesive rolls. So these are either double-sided adhesive or my foam adhesive, and then like the foam squares and strips there. I've got some used crafty cloths here for cleaning up, and I just kind of reuse those, and some of the large stamping blocks. My precision glue press is there, and then I also keep my tonic, the mini guillotine trimmer down here in the bottom. And then these are trays that are actually the lids from the scrapbook.com storage bins, and I use these all the time to just kind of help sort and organize projects when I'm working on them. They sell them in this smaller size here, in this frost color, and then in that larger size in the frost color that are just these little trays. The white ones that I have are actually the lids for the bins that you saw over in my drawers over there. So the lids don't fit once you put the sprays in there. So I have the lids over here and then just can use them to kind of help sort things. A couple things on my desk real quick here. I have one of my Tim Holtz glass media mats, and that is a coffee warmer, which I love to have for either keeping my coffee or my tea warm. Got my glass media mat here to work on. And then this little section here, this little tote, I like to keep like new to me stamps that maybe I've gotten and haven't had a chance to use, or if I have a project idea in my mind that I want to try something that I saw, I kind of stick those supplies in this little tote, and it just kind of helps remind me of like, oh yeah, I want to play with that. So yeah. This was a new recent find. I kind of collect a little bit of that white hobnail pieces, and I was kind of excited. I know that's probably an ashtray, but I love it, and it's been perfect for just putting my little bits and stuff in there. And then here I've got my blending tools and mini blending tools on this vintage stamp holder. Here is kind of my sewing machine table. It's not ideal. I would really love to get something different there, but that's just my sewing machine, and then some of the threads and things like that I keep in that little box next to it. And then the shelf below that, I've got my switch, so I've got easy access to that if I want to use it. And then last but not least, we've got my closet, which last year I had kind of done a makeover with, and I have to say that it's been really a great addition to my space, having this extra space in here to use and help me keep things organized and stored, especially things that maybe I don't want to look at all the time, or I don't use very often, or they're very specific to a certain purpose. So I kind of have some of those things in here. Up here on the top, I have a lot of my Christmas and Halloween makes that I've made over the years, and I just kind of keep them up. I usually have these doors open a lot, so it's kind of nice to have this kind of look nice and inspiring for me. On this shelf here, as I mentioned earlier, this has my Halloween and Christmas stamps in here. And then these little storage containers here, these are no longer available, but I like the height that they add, so I can put stuff on top of them. And then these are little drawers. They don't hold a lot of weight because this is made out of a paper board, but I can put little, die cuts and ephemera pieces or things that I want to save in there. And then over here is just kind of a collection of some other cards and makes and things like that. Down here I've got this bin here in the corner, has kind of my background stash, extra, I don't know, kind of play backgrounds or spray backgrounds that I've made. Kind of keep those. Got my watercolor markers there. And then in all of these bins, I have different papers, and I've got them labeled. So this row is all scrap papers, and they're either scrap papers from scrapbook.com or Sizzix or Tim Holtz, because those are mostly the papers that I use. And then I've got these other drawers here that are labeled for just like a generic craft cardstock that I get at the craft store, my Nina cardstock that I use, and then this is an HP LaserJet paper that I like to use as well. I've got some of the Tim Holtz's specialty papers like the wood grain and heavy stock in here, and then I've got the mixed media paper here, and then my all-time favorite here is the watercolor cardstock, and that's in that drawer. And I also, like, if there's any scraps or anything like that, I like the drawers because then I can just put the scraps here on top and get to them. Or if I need a full piece of paper, I can get to that easy too. And then this final stack of drawers has the black cardstock from Tim and the craft cardstock from Tim. And then this drawer is the mixed media paper from scrapbook.com. And then I have some 8.5 by 11 or like the magazine file type things that store all of my Sizzix cardstock there. And then kind of in the back here, I've just kind of, since it's kind of far in the corner, hard to get to, I kind of put some of my extra storage pieces in here that I don't really need at the moment, but I can get to if I need them. And then down below here, I've got some of my extra tools that I don't use super often, but it is nice to have extra paper trimmers and stamping platforms sometimes, so I have those there in the corner. And then I have my Sizzix stamping tools here and scoring board there. And then over here I've got some more of my Sizzix supplies, And then over here I've got all of my chipboard, different weights and thicknesses in that, and scraps of chipboard. So if I ever need that. And then down here on the bottom, things start getting a little hodgepodgey with the drawers, but just extra storage pieces here, larger 12 by 12 mixed media papers. This bin has a lot of my storage envelopes, and then also my card mailing envelopes in here. Also keep my extra magnet sheets in here. It's just kind of like a little storage mailing bin location, I guess. Anything that I have that's like bigger, like extra envelope storage or those magnet sheets I mentioned that I haven't cut down yet, I kind of just have those tucked in there. And then from there, I've got these containers. Some of these, 2 of them I have here are from scrapbook.com, and then these are like a different brand that I had. And the scrapbook.com ones I like a little bit better because they're actually a little bit wider, so I can kind of fit wider products in there. So I do kind of prefer those. But this is my Sizzix products. Kind of got them sorted by the different makers and designers. So like the Eileen Hull ones, or the ones that are just Sizzix, the 49 and Market ones. And then here I have some of my 49 and Market products that I like to work with. So, you know, some of their rub-ons, pattern papers, etc. This is some 12 by 12 envelopes that I have to store for larger 12 by 12 papers that I have. I don't have a ton of that, so there aren't very many of those, as you can tell. And then last but not least is this little drawer here. And this again is just kind of a little bit of a junk drawer. I've just got kind of random things stored in there. And then underneath on the bottom, I've got more of those wood crates. And again, these are just kind of extra storage for things that I don't use super often. This has got another one of those tiered storage trays, and this is kind of more of like my seasonal making products or craft products. So kind of, or extra things like extra scoring blades and cutting blades. So they're just a little bit of a junk drawer there. And that one over there is kind of the same way. So this one here though is my extra adhesive drawer. So this is all like refills for my tape runners, extra purple tape, mint tape, foam adhesives, all the non-liquid adhesives are in here. And then the last bin here is all of my Tim Holtz, etc., and ideology bases for creating. So, you know, the little file boxes and just extras of things that I have here. So if I need or I'm looking for anything like that, I can get in here and they're kind of keep them all together in there. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this look into my craft room. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out in the comments below. Until next time, stay crafty, my friend. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you can join me on a more regular basis. Hit the like if you enjoyed this video, and if you want to join me on my other social media platforms, you can find the links to those in the description box below. Also, feel free to leave me a comment if you have any questions or if there's something you'd love to share with me and our community. I'll see you in the comments below and in the next video. Until next time, stay crafty, my friend.